The Miami Hurricanes offensive line class just got better, and so did the team GPA, I think. We're flipping guys from Harvard. Nino Francavilla. Welcome to the U.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
True center prospect, Nino Francavilla. By the way, I'm Alex Donno. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today to the Everydayers. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts and available free on YouTube. You know, you go back to last recruiting cycle, 2023, when Miami had a verbal commitment through most of that process from true center. I thought he was the best center in the class last year, Connor Liu, who ended up flipping to Auburn pretty late in the process. Miami's really been looking for center since. And they offered Nino Francavilla, who was a Harvard verbal commit. They offered him about 6 days ago. He accepted Miami's offer and verbally committed about 5 days later. We're not only going to talk about that, we're also going to talk some conference realignment here as well. Our Locked On recruiting expert, Brian Smith, is with us. And of course, whenever Brian Smith joins us, he is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. But Brian, let's start with Nino Francavilla. First of all, obviously, you want somebody intelligent playing the center position. You know, he offers from Harvard, Dartmouth, all sorts of Ivy League offers. I think he checks off that box. But what does the tape tell you about this center prospect?
I was surprised at how well he moved in the second level, down the field, screen game. And then my next question was, why doesn't he have more offers? But then you kind of gave me some of the backstory that I didn't know prior to him coming to the United States.
Yeah, I'll fill people in on that real quick because I was just messaging with a social media friend of mine who whose son played high school football with Nino up in Chaminade, Toronto, Canada. Not Chaminade, Madonna, a different Chaminade up in
slightly
different up in Toronto. And that he says this guy was a beast, was a two-way player, also a great defensive lineman, in addition to being an interior offensive lineman. But I think like a lot of players from that area, you know, once COVID was shutting more stuff down up there than in the States, he came down to the U.S. and Francavilla ended up finishing, or he is in the process of finishing, his high school career at Cheshire Academy in Windsor, Connecticut. So that's where he is at now.
Well, that's a program that's always had good players. They've got a lot of different athletic programs that do well. Academically, it's well inclined. So fits right into the old Dartmouth Harvard plan. And again, it's just when I saw that they'd flipped somebody from Harvard, I went, what? And I mean, you after doing this 20 plus years, you don't think about something like that. And then I saw his backstory through you, and I'm like, okay. Because the film did not match his offer list. Like,
right.
Because I was expecting, I saw, I'm like, okay, they reached for somebody here. I looked at the offer list and I watched the film. I'm like, oh yeah, he can play here. So I'm just going to have to figure out the backstory, but thank you for giving that to me and everybody else. Yeah, he works well in space. He's a powerful kid, hands-on, runs his feet after contact, and he can play center. Those are really good traits. So I was surprised Miami was the first major program to offer him. I will guarantee you he will not be offered by just one or two more. He'll get several more offers. I guarantee it. That's a program a lot of schools recruit. And he'll probably end up a kid that some SEC, ACC, Big Ten schools, to put it in perspective. So I know he's not ranked like all the star ranking people are bitching and moaning, because that's what they do. And it's a passion of theirs. Good for you. But I just look at it really simple. Alex Mirabal is a very good offensive line coach, has been proven for a number of years. He's not an idiot. He wouldn't just offer this kid because he gets to pick a lot of kids that he wants. So I knew something was goofy. Then I watched the film. I'm like, okay, we're good. This is a guy that can start a couple of years at Miami. So, yeah, it's hilarious. And one of the more unique recruiting stories I can remember in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I need him to shine at Miami for a couple of big reasons. Number one, he's Italian, so I need him to go out there and represent.
That's right.
But then number two, I'm getting all this trash talk, Brian, from Florida State fans who are like, "Oh, you just guys, you guys just got the team tutor. You just flipped the kid from Hart. What are you doing flipping a kid from Hart with all this conference realignment talk? They're telling me Miami might flip into the Ivy League now is what the trash talkers are saying.
That's
so
great.
I'm rooting for Nino. Nino, I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for your family. Let's go out there and ball out at the U. So again, I want to remind everybody this segment is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. They help you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. So when we come back, we are going to talk some conference realignment because I've noticed something over the last couple of days. There's been a lot of headlines out there about the Big Ten. For some reason, none of these headlines the last 2 days are involving Miami. Is Miami going to get left out in the cold? How is this going to affect the University of Miami? We will talk about that and more with Brian Smith. We're only getting started. Keep it locked right here to Locked On Canes. I have been keeping it locked all summer long to eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, and exclusions apply. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. We're available free to the everydayers wherever you get your podcasts, and we're available free on YouTube. Our recruiting expert, Brian Smith, is with us. You're going to be our conference realignment expert as well for today. So, all right, Brian, what's the latest on potentially RIP to the Pac-12? And is the Big Ten looking to expand even further? What's the latest buzz, reports, and rumors out there?
Depends on who you want to ask. Every 5 minutes, that also changes. But obviously, the report that was taken out there by Barstool about Clemson, about Florida State, they were the first one allegedly to do that, saying, hey, this could happen this week. Look out. And we're talking about Washington and Oregon. That's a lot of stuff right before the season, man. It's like they need to pace themselves because you and I have other things going on. First off, let's get that out there. This is not efficient for me.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, Florida State and Clemson, like any other ACC school, that grant of rights thing is an ugly eyesore in your face. I don't know all the parameters, nor do I want to know the legal jargon. But if they are moving to the other conference, whatever it is, they got a big payout. And then every year it's like the TV contract goes to the ACC. So why would you do that? Somebody's ponying up here or they're coming close on it or the agreement for these deals. There's too many people talking about it. And a few of the people I trust talking about it, that makes me very nervous. Now, of course, the main thing here, we're on a Miami podcast.
Yeah.
What's that do to the Canes? The ACC is not relevant without those two programs in football. They're just not. I know Miami fans don't like Clemson or Florida State, but you need them in the conference. So either you bring somebody in, and I don't know who that would be to replace those two. Good luck. Or there's got to be a merger of some kind with the Canes. Yeah. I have not heard anything the last couple of days, but I know that the Big Ten, they would love to have the Miami footprint. What a weird conference from LA to Chicago to New York to Miami. That would be, I'm not sure I can wrap my head around that, Alex, but TV looks at things differently. They don't look at realistic for you and I to travel to games. They just care about the money in their bank account. That's first. And I also think the SEC is the main broker here.
Right.
The head coaches in the SEC want no part of Miami in the league. Why? They don't want to give Miami a recruiting advantage. They want to steal all the kids down there. But at the league commissioners and the TV people want Miami because same thing.
And can I also look at it this way, that if I'm the SEC, because I agree with everything you said, like they don't want Miami in their conference for the reasons you stated, especially Florida would not want Miami in their conference. But then at the same time, if you're the SEC, what if you're faced with a scenario where if we don't bring them in, the Big Ten might.
That was my next point.
And so if the Big Ten brings them in, their recruiting gets, a rocket to the moon, potentially being in that conference. And then also we don't have them for the revenue.
there's really nothing. This is one of the very few times I would even think this, let alone say it. There's really nothing the SEC coaches are going to gain from whatever Miami does. They're going to lose either way.
Right.
Because what you just said, chances of them being in the Big or the ACC long term don't look really all that promising.
Right.
I don't care about the name of the conference. I care about result. And I'm just looking at it through a lens for Miami. If we join the Big Ten, yeah, the travel is garbage. There's no friendly there. There's just not. I mean, that's a logistical nightmare that I don't even want to hear about. I feel sorry for all the tutors. Everybody's got to travel. I get it. But if you don't follow the money, in football in particular, I know this is not friendly with Title IX, but it pays for all the Title IX. It has to be the first thing on the bus. So basketball obviously just went to the Final Four. It's kind of important too. They need to be in a conference that is impactful with fans. If you go to a Big Ten, anything that, I mean, I'm from the area, they go to everything. Volleyball, whatever, they just sell tickets. It's going to benefit them. Can you imagine Miami with $100 million yearly budget, you know, just on athletics from the TV, not counting donors and all that? I mean, it's just insane. Do you think that might help allure some better coaches, trainers, facilities, all that stuff? Look, it's just the reality that we're in. So now back to the SEC. Do they have the guts to completely piss off their head coaches? Yes, because they're not going to. I think it doesn't matter. And I also think it's going to be a bidding war.
Yeah.
Because your point couldn't have been more clear. They're going somewhere. We're fighting against them, or they're going to join us. That's my opinion. I haven't made any phone calls or anything, and I don't know what I have zero idea. This for you. What do you think the administration and the people in Miami would want between the? I have no idea.
If I read the tea leaves, I think they want to be in the Big Ten. I don't think it's a coincidence that they were recently awarded AAU status, which, you know, is maybe the Big Ten's getting a little looser with that, because when they're talking about Florida State, I mean, look, Florida State's not flipping kids from Harvard. Miami is, right? Yeah. I thought the Big Ten's academic standards were a little bit higher, but if you're talking about adding Florida State, maybe they're loosening those AAU standards a little bit, but I kind of thought that designation, it seems to me like the rumors and the buzz that I've heard in recent months, but again, I don't know which rumors are reliable and which aren't, because there's just so many of them. There's so much noise, but the rumors seem to link Miami more to the Big Ten than to the SEC recently.
I wonder how much of that is based on coach. Like, my contacts are always coaching first. I'll be really honest. I don't want to deal with the bean counters very much. I don't. But they usually drive the bus on these decisions. Remember when it was rumored about Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC?
Yeah.
Who was the first one to bitch? Jimbo Fisher, who was shut up almost immediately by his own administration. Jimbo Fisher. Why? Because the SEC didn't give two you-know-whats about what he thought, because they want Texas and Oklahoma's money.
Yeah.
And that was the end of it.
Right.
It's just true. And I'm sure Kirby Smart and Nick Saban and all them despise the notion of Miami coming in. Same with Ohio State, et cetera. But then again, there's some benefits for some of the Big Ten schools, because playing Miami, this is where it's more interesting. And Big Ten schools probably like it more. They need to recruit in Florida more. Yeah. Like Ohio State's kind of an exception, or Michigan, because, you know, those are big brands. But especially Big Ten West, they need more Florida kids, man. They need more speed. So I think it would be an easier move from that perspective. But ultimately, dollars and cents, brothers. That's what it's going to come down to.
Now, let's talk about another less desirable scenario. So what would happen, you think, if Clemson and Florida State were to leave the ACC, even if Miami doesn't? Like, you basically meant the ACC couldn't really survive, at least as we know it. So if that were to happen, does the ACC look to merge? Do the ACC and the Pac-12 try to put together an emergency merger? Is there any chance the Big 12 could maybe take some more teams and merge? What do you think happens there?
Well, let's just say that the following is all correct. Allegedly, they need to make the announcement by the 15th of August.
Yeah.
That's the number I've been told. Bud Elliott reported that. Bud is into that stuff. He's 247 CBS, to be in the league next year. Well, that hoses schedules for all these teams. There's just nowhere to next year's schedule. Just hypothetically, I would assume the Knowles and Canes, for instance, they're going to play. But like, if I haven't even looked, but if Clemson's on Miami's schedule, That's a game you got to replace. And for other ACC members that aren't really rivals but had Florida State for next year, that's possibly 2 games you have to. Man, you're going to have some terrible match because you're just grabbing whatever you can. You got to have butts and seats. Football pays the bills by home games. It's not friendly to talk about it, but you're going to see FCS City because these schedules are made 5-10 years in advance, sometimes more. I know like Notre Dame and Michigan have games planned in the middle 2030s. It's dumb, but it's what they do. Miami probably has some of that too.
Maybe Miami can get that rematch against Middle Tennessee that we all need.
I'm not going to comment on that. I'll let you ride that alone, brother. But to be honest, you're going to see some bizarre stuff.
Yeah.
You would probably see some, somebody like Fresno State pull up the Miami Herald webpage and, well, look at there. Miami's playing Fresno State. Something like that's going to happen because these teams don't have any other options. A little bit longer term, if Miami doesn't make it for next year, you'd have to think by 25 or 26, they would have already moved to. That's my guess. But all these contracts, man, they are not friendly. No. Miami's under the same, and I don't know who signed this bad boy, but whoever signed the grant of rights.
Yeah, it was the previous, not the current guy Phillips. It was the previous ACC Swafford. I don't know. Was he the NCAA or the ACC? The previous whoever was the previous ACC commissioner is the one who sold his soul for that awful deal.
Wow. Yeah. It's all leverage to the conference and the TV. The teams didn't do very well there. I mean, they still made money, but they didn't think this one through, and it hurt them. So Miami, if they don't make a deal by the 15th, technically, I have no idea what's going on there. They'd be stuck next year and potentially further. So for 25, they'd need to make the deal by the 15th of next year. Maybe it's the SEC, maybe it's the Big Ten. I don't know. But how in the world do you survive in that when your best 2 teams as rivals in the conference bolt? Would the TV contract go down immediately? I don't know all the bylaws with that, but that gets real ugly with the legal jargon. I want no part of it. But you can't tell me you're making the same money if those 2 are not in the conference next year.
Yeah. And
that is automatically a no-go for every ACC team, Miami included. So I think it would collapse within 24 months at the latest. Wow. Yeah, I can't see it.
Well said, though. Brian Smith, follow him on Twitter at FBScout_Florida. Brian, thank you so much for the insight. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank everybody so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. If you want to take your everydayer experience to the next level, sign up to our exclusive SMS texting community through a service called Subtext. I include the link in the show description below. If you want to get text messages directly from my phone to yours, I give you guys show previews, updates from fall camp. We had a lot of those this morning, all sorts of recruiting nuggets and scoops and breaking news. You want to try it free for 14 days. Then if you like it, opt in, $4.99 a month. We give you a lot of added value on there. We will talk to you again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.